All right, we're back. Another season. Pro football show. Chevy Silverado. Chicago. Couldn't be more excited to be back.
Yeah, Will, how are you feeling?
Boys, girl, this season is going to be awesome. But who is this jabroni?
That's the mystery guest. Different host every single week.
I love that idea. Let's go!
Welcome to the Pro Football Show presented by the Chevy Silverado. Visit Chevy.com to check out the Chevy Silverado. It is conference championship week. We are all in separate locations, but fellas, we are officially here, and I want to get your takeaways from divisional weekend because divisional round was crazy and a lot of different things happened. Dan, now like a few days removed, what's your biggest takeaway from what happened last weekend?
I feel bad for Bills fans. They fall short again. The Chiefs were the better team, so it's not like, oh man, they squandered it. It's not a 13 seconds type of game. But yeah, Bills fans, that was rough to have another wide right. It sucks. It sucks for a long off season, and they got to tweak something because Mahomes, that's what he does. He's 13-1 in the playoffs against guys not named Tom Brady. He just shows up and wins games, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, yeah, and I think the Chiefs also are just playing, like, way better ball than they were at the end of the regular season. That is a team that I think Will picked to not even make the playoffs. But, yeah, it was a great conference championship weekend. And also, Will, I'm sure we'll get into it. Will's – I love Will. He's a brother. But, man – he must have stopped taking math classes when he was in like second grade. And I'm not a smart math guy. I also didn't take much math growing up, but Will can't do simple arithmetic, and it's crazy to watch him struggle this much with it.
Well, I guess my comment to that would be anytime, any place, anywhere on a 100-question times table test, I'll dog walk any of the analytics people out there. But I will say, hand up, I would like to apologize to a certain community. This particular community is one, if you go after, it is a cancelable offense out there. In this situation, we're talking about the analytics group. Mm-hmm. And, I think we can find, I was unaware and I was not in the right, you can say, of understanding all the probabilities and analytics and statistics that go into, hey, you go for two, that's the right call. I think where it gets gray is just because the numbers say do it means that it's the right call and that everybody and their mother are out there arguing like bots and protesters that guys aren't math guys. Because I think what analytics fails to take into account is the psychology that goes into the game when you're down 14 points, over 6 minutes left to go, you travel down the field, score a touchdown. The juju on the sideline is let's fucking go, boys. Get us the defense, get us the ball back. We'll drive down there again. We'll have all the momentum versus you take a risk of, like just happened, you don't get the 2-point conversion. And then all of a sudden, whether or not everybody's aligned on thinking, okay, we know what we still got to do, the first words out of your mouth is like, hey, that's okay. Just get us the ball back. We'll go down there. You're trying to keep your momentum from falling versus building on your momentum and still putting yourself in a chance to win the game at the end of the game. So that is my whole takeaway on analytics. Like if you look at the analytics, you would bet with Big Cat in the playoffs versus when you look at the regular season. In the playoffs now, the analytics now shift to Will Compton.
Well,
if you look at the Eagles, you get 4th and 1 on 80 or 90% of your tush pushes. That doesn't mean you should be going for it on 4th and 1 backed up on your own 30.
Yeah, because you're an idiot. Again, it's not even analytics. It's simple math. I have a question. Well, first of all, Will, to your momentum piece, the Bucs go for 2. They don't get it. They lost so much momentum that they made the Lions punt in 5 plays, not 3. Wow, what a momentum shift. I can't believe it. The game basically ended there. Will, I have a question for you. Do you think Mike Vrabel's a good coach?
I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great coach.
Do you think Matt LaFleur's a good coach?
I think Matt LaFleur's a great coach.
Okay, because that's 2 guys that did exactly this to success this year. But because some people are saying you're not a ball watcher, because teams have been doing this now for 3 years and it somehow snuck up on you in the playoffs, you're like, why would you go for 2? That makes no sense. People who do watch ball know that this has been something most coaches have adopted, and they realize how much more beneficial it is. So what would you say to Mike Vrabel and Matt LaFleur, both doing it in the exact same situation? And don't give me the playoff crap. They did the exact same thing.
What playoff crap?
Dude, oh, playoffs are different. No, playoffs you got to be aggressive. Go win the game.
When you're talking about Coach Vrabel, they were at the end of the year and nothing was happening. It's like you might as well just go for 2. And if you look
Will.
Some coaches are adopting it, but every coach across the league is not just saying, well, you go for 2 when you're down 14.
All the smart ones will. And Coach Vrabel didn't say that because we're at the end of the season. Let's just go for 2. No, he knows that the math, it makes so much sense to be aggressive in that situation. If you go for 2, knowing that you have 2 shots, you got to score 2 touchdowns. If I told you right now, Will, you have to pick heads or tails.
Listen, Big Cat, I saw all of
your
timeline.
stupid.
Because you're like, oh, just flip a coin twice. If you want tails, hey, Will, if I give you 2 chances to get tails, will you like that one better than 1? No shit, the answer is yes, but that's not.
So then you should do it.
Football's not a quarter, Dan.
I understand that, Will.
You don't just flip it. If you miss it the first time, you're going to get it the second time.
Will, let me ask you this. If I told you there's a path to take that gives your team a better chance to win the game, you're still going to choose the path that doesn't give you a better chance? That's how stupid you sound.
No, what you're saying, you have to collect all of this data, which now, by the way, all the analytics, they better start to downtick now that Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers didn't pull that shit off, because you math guys are still going to lean on.
They didn't score another touchdown, Will.
That was the right call.
Will, they didn't have it. Will, you're so stupid.
Because the wind was taken out of their sails because they didn't get the 2-point conversion the first time.
If
you
don't
score 2 touchdowns.
If you don't score the second, if you don't score the second touchdown, you don't know if the 2-point conversion failed or not.
Thank you, Kayce.
Right. It's true. It's like if you score the second touchdown and then don't get it, then there's an issue.
Will, you're so dumb that you don't realize that just because it fails once doesn't mean you shouldn't keep doing it. That's what probabilities are.
Big Cat, you can keep throwing the dumb haymakers and all the comments to bring me down. All I'm saying is analytics are there to help you make decisions. If your decision goes, hey, we're going to kick the extra point here, and then, get the ball back, try to go down and score. If you want to tie it, you want to win the game, go ahead and try to win the game.
No, that's the dumb way to do it. You still don't get it.
But all I'm saying is, just because you go against the let's not go for 2 down 14 doesn't mean it's wrong. Like, everyone just is like, no, that was the exact correct call. Clearly it wasn't, because they didn't get it. Now you're in a gotta-have-it situation. Now you don't go down and score because all of the momentum was taken away when you
That wasn't the momentum. They got to punch in 5 plays.
You can't tell me otherwise, because they didn't go down and score, all because they didn't get the 2-point conversion.
Will, is it true? Like, I mean, this is an honest question, because like I know that there's the simple math and the analytics and all that, but you really think that there's that big of a difference kicking an extra point for momentum than a failed 2-point conversion?
No. I like, in my heart of hearts, I just don't. To me, putting yourself, risking a gotta-have-it situation if you don't get it is not worth it. If you can just take your extra point, and then it's still, defense, get us the ball back. You still drive down. If you score 14 unanswered points late in the fourth quarter, you're going to have all the momentum going into overtime. Or just fucking drop your nuts on the line and go for 2 at the end. And look, I know you get
that doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying just do that if you're trying to win the game. All I'm saying is, if you truly wanted to do that, then do it. Myself, I'm going down and I'm taking all the momentum going into overtime.
See, that's the dumb part, Will. You saying, well, just drop your nuts on the second touchdown. The whole reason it works is because you have to score 2 touchdowns and you get to go for 2 twice. And I agree with you. If you want to disagree from an actual point of like, well, I just don't agree with this, that's fine. But I know how your brain worked, because I saw your tweets. I think you, Whitney, and Taylor were sitting in a room together. Whitney texted me right away. He's like, why would you go for 2 there? You guys went from it from a perspective of you just didn't understand it. So your initial reaction is, that's stupid, and trying to find a way to be that stupid. You aren't just listening to facts of like, just it's probability, dude. Go win the game.
Dan, I appreciate you recapping my apology at the top of this segment when I said I was very much unaware of the analytics. But now that I got to digest and take it all in, I still feel the exact same way. Because analytics don't take into account everything else that plays you from the neck up.
It's not analytics. It's simple math. That's the thing. This isn't analytically driven. It's math. It's literally math.
Yeah, statistics, probabilities, math, numbers. It doesn't take into account all the subjective vibe when you don't get the 2-point conversion, and now you're fucking behind the 8 ball, and everybody's out there preaching.
And what happens if you do get it? If you get it, if you can get it over 50%,
Yeah.
what happens when you do get it? Then you can go win the game. You're only thinking of the negative, not the positive.
Exactly. Everybody hates to hear the downside, and I'm more. I don't know if the word's risk adverse. Maybe I'm less risk adverse.
Yeah, you
whatever
are.
it is.
You're a dinosaur.
I'm more of the hey. I'm more of the boys. Chill out. We'll fucking get this ball back, and we're going to still drive it down the field and win this football game.
But what, Will? Answer me this.
Then why not go for 2 every fucking chance?
I'd be fine with going for 2 every time, but answer me this, Will. You don't think that Todd Bowles and the Bucs have told the guys this is the plan? Every team tells their guys this is the plan. If we're in this exact situation, this is what we're going to do. If we're down 14 and late in the fourth, and we score a touchdown, we're going to go for 2. So I don't know how that kills the vibes when the guys know the plan. They've explained it. This is a better chance to win the game.
Dan,
I want
are
my
you
coach to give me
you-
the best chance to win the game.
So Dan, if you're standing on the sideline and you see the 2-point conversion fail, you're thinking, "Oh fuck yeah, this is part of the plan."
Yeah,
That's
we'll
what
go
we
get
had
it
to
the
do,
next
boys."
time.
Score
No,
again.
you're like,
We'll go get it the next
"Ah,
time."
Fuck, we really wish that one would have worked out right there. But now we have to get it the second time. Oh, but we get 2 chances to flip the quarter, so we'll probably get it.
Here's my question, Will. And again, I'm coming at this from just a simple, I understand both sides of this, but if you do get that 2-point conversion, then the momentum is so much better. Then you're like, fellas, we could go down the field and win this
The
game.
Packers.
So
You're right.
why
You're right.
not try?
Right, the Packers and Titans both did this successfully in this exact situation this very season. And the Bucs almost pulled it off against the Bills, too. Every team is doing it.
Not every team is doing it. Not literally every coach is not pulling the trigger on that.
Almost every coach would do it in that situation. You just haven't been paying attention that this is where the league's gone.
I think too, it's I am disagreeing and saying analytics should be used, these probabilities should be used to help you make a decision. It feels like you guys are heels dug in the ground no matter what, you have to, or you're wrong, and you're a bad football coach.
No, I'm heel dug in the ground that I want my coach to give me the best chance to win the game, and this is clearly the best chance to win the game. Not to tie the game, to win the game.
What if he told you, hey, we're going to kick an extra point here, defense is going to get the ball back, trust me, we're going to go down and score?
I'd be like, my coach clearly isn't thinking ahead like everyone. Everyone's finding hidden advantages in the game, like Dan Campbell going for it on 4th down, 4th and goal, finding these hidden advantages instead of just, doing the thing like, oh, we're going to punt. We're going to do a turnover here by punting. We're going to kick a field goal. We're not going to try to get 6. All of this stuff, when you have years of data behind it, I want my coach to be at the forefront of saying, our goal is to win the game. What can give us the best chance to win the game? Let's go attack it and do that.
Well, and this happens every single time there's a failed 2-point conversion. In retrospect, it's well, they shouldn't have gone for it. If they get it, no one is questioning the decision. So I think that's where the argument is starting is had they gotten that, we're not sitting here for 20 minutes arguing about simple math. We're just damn, they had the balls to do it and they got it.
Will, my last point, because I don't mean to call you dumb. I just don't. I think you do understand it now, so I'm going to back up on the dumb thing. But process over results. Process over results. Do the process. Do the thing that gives you the best chance to win over and over and over, and you will get the results. That Kayce brings up a good point. Dan Campbell goes for it for 4th and 2 on the goal line, and they bring in their 3rd string running back. They have a great play for it. If they don't get it there, people are like, well, that was so stupid. No, that was a way to try to win the game. If you don't get it there, you back them up. The odds are saying that they're going to have to punt. You'll get good field position. All this stuff has been figured out. I want my coach to use the correct process over and over and over again, and then we'll get the results.
I'm going to be honest,
Yeah,
of
I
all the
agree
stuff that
about
we've
the 4th and 2
argued about on this show, the thing that's going to break you guys apart is simple math. I knew it was going to happen in the group text last night, the way that started to turn. I was like, if simple math is what breaks these two apart, it's going to be a sad day.
It is what it is. I mean,
no.
This is the end of our friendship. This
doesn't look. That doesn't break me and BC up. I think he's the best. Or whether or not he feels the same, that's
I love
him.
Will.
I am sending him a couple books. I'm
Will.
sending him a couple books his way.
Okay, Will. Here's what I want you to do. Okay, next time that you're watching a playoff game on Sunday, and this situation arises, I want you to take off your shoes and your socks so that you can actually count to 14, and then you can figure it out.
That was just a roundabout way of him calling you dumb again, Will. I do
know,
just want to point that out.
It's a lazy, exhausting way to go about it because you ultimately just default to math.
Wait,
and it's like, all right, you got the numbers.
Your response hasn't been lazy? The books haven't been lazy?
No, bro, I tried explaining everything about why I still disagree with it, but that doesn't mean that I think that you guys in your community is wrong. I want to be clear. I do apologize for coming after your community, but I still disagree in that situation of football that, they should have kicked the extra point.
So you're saying
back,
what you're
they
saying is
the
at the end of the day, even though you disagree, when July comes around and it's analytics month, you'll still wear the flag and you'll still, support.
What does that even mean? What are you talking about?
You know exactly what
Yeah, he knows what it means.
And
are you an ally of the
like,
analytics community or not?
See, that's the thing. There can't be any disagreement. And that's mob mentality. You're either with us in everything we do, or the minute you disagree, our entire community will come after your throat and try to cancel you. That's what Dan is currently doing.
I don't disagree that there's got to be a human element to all these games, but this one to me is very simple, and it's like I want to go win the game, and I have my best 2-point plays. That's the thing is really Todd Bowles, right thinking. Doing a fade to Mike Evans, like that play is just a bad play. The fade is a dumb play. It's not. You have one option in that play, and if the defender plays a good route, like it's not successful. So if anything, that should be the criticism here. The Todd Bowles, you got to have a better 2-point play. Ben Johnson has showed that when the Lions have had situations, goal to go, 4th down, 2-point plays, he goes deep in his bag, and he has plays that he hasn't shown. That's the whole point. Is like. You're right, Will, in the fact that the human element has to be involved in this, that it's not just straight numbers. You also have to do the coaching part of it, where it's like, we feel really confident on this play we've practiced all week that we will bring out for this exact situation.
Yeah, if you're going to take the risk, make sure you have something worthy of that risk.
Yeah,
correct.
And I would say, just to defend the analytics community on this one, maybe they have years of data that shows Mike Evans is probably successful in a fade ball in the end zone. And it's like, hey, we're going to go to our best player in our most crucial time. That's what our data tells us right now. So maybe that's where he's leaning on the data too much. Now you got to factor in some human element, to your point, to make a better call.
I hate the fade. I think it's stupid just because, like, why not give your team more options, Why not give Baker a rollout that he can maybe get it if he needs to, or someone,
or something creative where, like the Detroit did against Dallas a few weeks ago, where somebody's, they're making themselves eligible. You just don't know what's coming. It is truly your got to have it play.
It's literally what Detroit did in this game on 4th and goal from the 2. And they have an offensive lineman report as eligible. Everyone on the Bucs is like, they got something crazy planned. They bring in their 3rd string running back, even though they have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Everyone's like, something's crazy going to happen. What do? They run their 3rd string running back right up the middle for a touchdown. Like, that is a play that is scripted up for that exact situation that the Bucs have not seen and don't expect.
Yes.
So Will snuck this in during that argument. He snuck that in the regular season, Dan won the record, and that now the playoffs, Will is winning. So Will, you did go 3-1 last week, so you had a fantastic divisional round. We're going to get to the championship round now, and we're going to start with the AFC Championship. The Chiefs and the Ravens right now favored by 3.5. We know how fantastic the Chiefs-Bills game was. I mean, obviously, the Bills fans are heartbroken, but I'd love to see those two teams play in the playoffs for the rest of time. Meanwhile, the Ravens just absolutely kill the Texans. Dan, you saw this coming, and most people saw this coming. The Texans had a great year, but the Ravens were just too good for them. Where do you see them matching up with the Chiefs in the best way? Do you see them being successful in the same way they were last weekend?
So this game is tough because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and he's an underdog, and he just kills teams, and he makes big plays and big moments, and the Chiefs have found something with Rashee Rice and Pacheco and Travis Kelce. Kind of, he's a big-time player. Like, he had a tough end of the season, but he had 2 touchdowns against the Bills. I'm struggling with this game, though, because the Ravens' defense is so much better than what the Bills had out there on Sunday with all their injuries and what the Dolphins had out there 2 Saturdays ago with all their injuries. This Ravens' defense is for real, all 3 levels. They mix stuff up. They try to confuse you. They're not going to let you run the ball. But then I keep going back to Mahomes, plus 3.5. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs, plus 3.5. I have a Ravens 18-1 ticket from August. So, and I have to make a pick in this game. So I'm just going to stop. Patrick Mahomes is going to kill every future I've ever put on any team in the last 2 years. So I'm going to give myself some insurance with the 3 in the hook, but I'm rooting for the Ravens.
Will?
Dan, don't pick the Chiefs, bro.
Why? All they do is win.
You're right. You are 1,000% in saying everything you just said. I like, to me, the takeaway with the way the Ravens played against the Texans and how they basically played the entire year, I think to myself, like, who is going to even come close to this Baltimore Ravens team? Just because the Niners, they've had their, more highs than lows throughout the year, but even the last 2 weeks in the playoffs, they haven't necessarily shown their best ball. Like, they're very beatable unless Purdy and those guys are playing at a very high level at all times. But you look at the Ravens, like, again, you already alluding to it. They're not playing the Chiefs aren't playing the Bills defense. They're playing the Ravens defense, the number 1 scoring defense, top like 3, 5 in every category throughout the entirety of the league. They do an incredible job on all 3 levels. They, Coach McDonald, he does a great job of mixing it up post snap to where Mahomes is, we were talking about last week, if you can just make him pat the ball. Now where I think the Ravens are going to do a much better job than the Bills is stopping the run against Pacheco, because Pacheco was going nuts last week against the Bills. Whether or not, I don't know the totality in yards that he had, but it seemed like every time they wanted to run the ball, they could. As long as the Ravens just play their type of football, stop the run, and make it a one-dimensional game, which I think that they will do because they have all the horses and a crazy Roquan Smith leading that charge. Like, I don't see this being a problem for the Ravens. And I get it where it's Patrick Mahomes, it's his Chiefs, it's the story. It's like, here we go again. Jerry alludes to it. Like, it's just written. There's just no beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. They will get his best game, but again, like, I don't see how they even stack up with this Ravens team. You look at some of their best defenses they played against this year, it's like, they're in the AFC West. They split 1-1 against the Raiders, lost the second time, split against the Broncos. Broncos really had their number. They had the Jets earlier in the year where they squeaked it out against the Jets, and Jets should have won the game. But other than that, it's like, Dolphins, they were banged up. Bills were totally banged up. Dolphins come and play them when it's 0-degree weather as a track team. I just don't see, they lost to the Eagles earlier in the year, 31-17. Again, to me, the Ravens are such a different animal than everybody that the Chiefs have faced this year. I think it could be double digit.
Oh,
Listen, that's truly what I think, because they're just firing, bro.
I agree with you that the Ravens are the better team. If this was a 2.5 point spread, I would take the Ravens, but the 3 in the hook is what scares me off it, because the Chiefs will find a way to keep this close. And Spags is an unbelievable defensive coordinator. He's going to have wrinkles for Lamar, where I don't think it's going to I just don't think it's going to be easy for the Ravens. I hope it is. I hope I'm wrong, but Patrick Mahomes as an underdog has just
It hurts that they've lost their linebackers, right? Then they lost Bolton last week, yeah?
Yeah, and they lost their safety as well. So, and Mark
yeah.
Andrews might be back, which is a huge piece. If Mark Andrews plays, now the Chiefs have to game plan for Likely, who has gotten a lot better with all his reps the last month and a half, and Mark Andrews over the middle of the field. It's a lot harder, Will, to spy a quarterback, to keep everyone in there when you have 2 dynamic tight ends that can go up the seams, that can go across the field. It's going to be a tough game for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes plus 3.5. I just can't.
And Marlon Humphreys. Marlon Humphreys coming back as well, probably. And you're right. The dynamic tight ends, Zay Jones, Zay Flowers, OBJ. And again, it's not a repeat game. I think if we get Baltimore Niners in the Super Bowl, I think we'll see a much better game, because when you see that offense a second time, I think you start to play it a lot better. I just think, I just don't see how you stop the Ravens.
And Dan, before we move to the NFC, obviously in the history of this show, we've always talked about Lamar Jackson. Dave and Dion used to go about it. Obviously, Jerry, and all year we've argued as well. Lamar has struggled in the playoffs. We've seen that, even his MVP season. Do you think that what we're seeing now like that, and I hate to use the word narrative because it's so cliche, but do you think that he's completely shed that now after what we've seen up to this point, or do you think he needs to win this game in order to do that?
No, he needs to win this game, because that's just how the discourse happens. I mean, look at the discourse with Josh Allen. He's lost to Mahomes 3 times, and everyone's like, he stinks. He doesn't stink, but that's just how it works. I don't think if Lamar loses this game, he stinks. But people will say he can't get it done in the playoffs, and that's just how it works. So, yeah, he's got to win this game.
Okay, so big game for Lamar as well. Before we get to the NFC Championship, we need to remind everybody that Body Armor is the official water of Barstool Sports. We don't have Jerry as the water boy today, but we are all drinking our Body Armor. You can find it all across the country, on Amazon, and of course in all the Barstool offices, and apparently on the Bussin' with the Boys bus, full of Body Armor over there. So thank you as always. Let's move to the NFC Championship. The Lions and the 49ers. The 49ers favored by 7 right now. I mean, Will, the Lions are an incredible story. We know the fact that they got to get 2 playoff games in Detroit. They are so much fun to watch. The 49ers struggled against the Packers last week, but they ended up getting it done. What are you seeing between these two teams?
I think the spread makes it hard here. I would have thought that it'd be a lot lower, which would have made my pick easier with the Niners. But yeah, the Detroit Lions, they've played incredible all year long. Like they've had 2, playing in Detroit, like playing in front of the city, you can just tell how emotional it is the entirety of the game. And I just think that them traveling out to San Fran, number one, we're not indoors. And I'm not saying that Goff isn't going to play well. It's just, it shows that he doesn't play as well indoors. It's going to be probably beautiful out in San Francisco, so that shouldn't hurt him. But I think traveling to San Francisco and the way the Niners, like, I just think this is their weekend to where they're going to put it together, because I do think that they have to. Going into the Super Bowl, if they want to put that product out there. I feel like they got lucky against the Green Bay Packers. Packers outplayed them 58 out of the 60 minutes, and unfortunately fumbled the bag there at the end. Niners take advantage. Brock, he showed up when he needed to the most, even though he was having a down game for a lot of that game. But I think this is the weekend that the 49ers put it all together heading into Vegas in the Super Bowl. So I am taking the 49ers -7 against Detroit. Again, I think Detroit's been an incredible story. I wouldn't even be mad if they end up winning this game, because again, you got Eminem, you got the stands, you got Detroit, you got the entire city. I love it for them, but I think this is where the Niners get them.
Dan?
Yeah, I mean, this game is tough. Will said some very good things. I'm worried if Deebo Samuel doesn't play, because the game against the Packers, Will's right, the Packers outplayed them for the majority of that game. And a lot of people were shitting on Brock Purdy and saying the weather and all that stuff. I think that what was hidden in all that is Deebo Samuel being out in that game in the first quarter changed everything the Niners were going to try to do. Like Deebo Samuel, you build an entire game plan around a guy like that. So if he's not playing, that's a little bit of pressure off of that Lions secondary that's not been great all year. I think the Lions can cover this number. I think they can keep it close. I think they'll be able to run the ball. And Goff has been playing out of this world good. And it really comes down to, like, if Debo's not healthy, or he's even out there and way less than regular Debo, the Niners, we've seen it this year. When they have all their weapons, they are unbeatable. When they're missing a Debo or a Trent Williams, they look very beatable. So I just think the Lions will be able to keep this one close.
So obviously the number being a touchdown, that's one thing. Do you think that the Lions can win this game, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, they could win this game. I don't think they win this. If you play it 100 times, I don't think they win it more than, 30 times or whatever it is. But yeah, of course they can win this game. They're playing great football, and they can stop the run, which they're going to have to do with Christian McCaffrey. And like you saw it, Aaron Jones, they were able to get outside and run the ball. And I think with a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's so electric, you get him out in space, you do some stretch runs. I think you can run a little bit on this Niners defense. And we've seen it. Obviously, they won coming back down in the fourth quarter, but Kyle Shanahan, he was up until Saturday, was 0-30 in the playoffs and regular season when his team's down by 5 or more in the fourth quarter. So can the Niners play from behind? They did it. They showed it Saturday. I think this one's a little bit different when you have a team that can be committed to the run the same way that the Lions are.
And Will, we've talked a lot about throughout the season, like players, coaches, and locker room vibes. And obviously what Detroit has done has been unbelievable. They haven't done it in decades, and now they're in the conference championship. But let's say they lose this game and, they go home. What has Dan Campbell done for this locker room? Like, what do you think's going on with this team right now with the momentum that they'll have going into next season?
I mean, they've began to build something special. Began, whatever the word is, to build something special in Detroit. What I love and what makes me smile scrolling my timeline is people grabbing old clips from Hard Knocks and the things that Dan Campbell, Coach Campbell has said since he's gotten there, and it's coming full circle, and you're seeing it come to fruition. I feel like that is just, it ignites so much juice, not only in the locker room, but clearly in the city. And I just feel like we're getting to witness, hopefully, a foundation of a long tenure with the Lions. And they do. Like, they have a lot of weapons coming back next year. So, yeah, they should be nothing but stoked, and they definitely have a chance to win this game against San Fran, especially if the same 49ers team that's been showing up is out there on Sunday.
You know what I love about Dan Campbell, Will, because you bring up a good point. Like, he's a football guy through and through. Like,
Dude, he
fuck all the
cries damn near every
analytics
time.
Fuck all the analytics and the nerds and all that stuff. Oh wait, Dan Campbell is actually one of the most aggressive coaches in the NFL.
And here we go,
That's
full
weird.
circle, folks.
Dan,
weird.
listen, I've got to be clear in my stance on this. I love the aggressive play. I think in that situation, that situation in particular is the only one where maybe I get a little, I got to step back from this one. Maybe this one's a little too hot for me. I believe, take your point, we're going to get the ball back, because all the other situations like that, Dan Campbell's been aggressive on that. All these coaches have figured out all the ways to, use the rules to their advantage, the analytics, everything else. I like it all. I just think in that moment,
But
that was the wrong decision. And was it not?
Unless he got it.
That's what probabilities are,
Right.
Will.
So if you would have gotten it,
they
you would have
help
liked
you
it.
make a decision.
I
You sit there and you're like, hey,
disagree with
coach.
you here, Will. I like coaches that are consistent. They have a plan. If you don't want to do any of the aggressive stuff, then just be the ball control, punt, be that guy. If you want to be the aggressive guy, be that guy. And that's the whole point. You play the probability.
Yeah, what analytics get what's his name from the Chargers?
Staley?
Staley.
He got it scared out of him because people like you started yelling at him.
He went for it on fourth down damn near every time, and the probabilities didn't play into his favor. Now where's he at?
But
Sipping
he did
mimosas
it.
on the
But
beach
wait, hold
somewhere.
on. He's actually a great point. Yeah, obviously things didn't go well there, but he did exactly what you asked for. Is you got to know about your personnel and the vibes. Brandon Staley was super aggressive his first year because his defense sucked, and he knew that he had to take chances because his defense was not good. So if you can pick up a fourth down 2 out of 3 times in a game, that gives your defense a huge break. He literally is what you want. What you're asking for. Guys like Dan Campbell and Brandon Staley and Matt LaFleur and Mike Vrabel are doing that. They're taking the numbers. They're not just going off a spreadsheet. They're going off of what they have on the field as well.
Understood.
Great point by me.
Yeah, if we were in person right now, this would have been one of those things where Will just doesn't say anything. We all kind of look around like, okay, well, I guess the show's over now. So anything else, fellas? I mean, again, we talked about 2 games, but mostly we talked about simple math and analytics. But anything else before we get out of here?
I'm excited for these games.
Yeah,
I'm nervous that I don't know. This Ravens-Chiefs game has me so nervous because
Same, man.
Patrick Mahomes is just a slayer of teams. That's all he does.
I tell you what, they win this, they go on. You're assuming they win the Super Bowl if they beat the Ravens. That's where you start to begin the conversation of Pat being the GOAT. He's already the best quarterback of this generation. I mean, doing what he's done right now, like he's got everybody thinking like the way BC is, and everybody's like, oh, this is the same old Chiefs, where it's like everyone's just forgotten about how depleted their roster's been or how much talent, their lack of talent that they've had throughout the year. So the fact that he's doing all this with that roster, I mean, he's one of the best to ever.
6 straight conference championships already, and he's like not even 30 yet is crazy. Is he?
Yeah.
He's not 30, right? He's still in his 20s.
No, I don't think he's 30 yet.
Yeah, he's in his 20s.
It's wild.
And I also pray that whoever wins out of the Lions-Niners, that quarterback shows out. Because if you have one of those games where it's like, oh, these 2 quarterbacks, it's just like who's going to beat themselves type of situation. Nobody's going to give that team a shot going against, one of these quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. So I just hope Goff, Purdy, whoever wins this game, that they're out there balling. So that way there's not that massive question mark going into the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
It'll be a fun weekend. All I hope is that somebody tries to go for 2 and the group text pops off again, because those are my favorite. Watching you, Will and Dan go at each other about simple math.
It's simple. If they do it and they get it, Will's going to be like, that's genius. He
1000%.
plays results, not process.
That's the way
I'd be
social media is.
My brain, clearly, since I'm not like one to be in that situation, my brain will be like, damn, they're lucky that they got this, but hey, good for them. Because when
No
they shot me
chance.
the message of the graphic, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I can understand why it's like that's a decision to be made. But still, after thinking about it, I just respectfully to the community,
Decline.
to the ANAL community, I apologize and I respectfully disagree.
Hey, as long as it's respectful, you can disagree. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy these games, and we will be back for the Super